Okay. Oh, wow.
Hey, welcome,
Okay,
beauties
so
and beasts.
now we can
Yeah,
turn
we
off the
are
phones.
live.
So we can take the phones off now.
And
Okay.
take phones off now.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and X. Excited tonight because finally, through all of the work, family stuff, thinking, and talking, I finally get to have the one, the only Lee Rice II on show with me. Welcome, Lee.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me in on the show here. This
Yeah,
is a
man. I really
definitely
appreciate it.
definitely
Huh?
a first for me.
No, hey, we got some exciting things in the works because we were talking about dual host podcast, and I'm actually getting really excited about it, Lee, because you are a walking, talking freedom fighter, and you got so much knowledge, brother. And I believe that talking and working together through things often allows us to access a lot of those things that maybe we normally wouldn't when we're just by ourselves.
True.
You know?
True. And I think, it's something I've been contemplating, but I just didn't. For one, it's the time, but when sometimes you just have to make time. I kind of sound like
Right.
Kamala right now, huh? My word salad.
No word salad, please. No word salad.
Yeah. But
Believe it or
no,
not. Well, go
what's
ahead.
that? No, I think that.
I got accused of a word salad today, merely because I broke some things down with some philosophical reasoning. I love philosophy.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and what the people maybe not realize is that when we say word salad is when the sentences don't hook together.
Right, and it's all
That's
jumbled
just,
everywhere, right?
it's
And they
all
don't make
jumbled.
well, and they don't make any sense.
And they're not pursuant to the topic at hand.
True.
Preferably, we're talking about the actual thing that you were asked about.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So, no, this is cool because I don't want to reveal. I'm not even going to say the name. I think we landed on a pretty cool name, but I got to tell you, I've been
Yeah,
through.
I like that. Yeah.
I think the name is awesome. I've been going through a bunch of stuff. I had I was thinking Upside Down Kingdom, and I was going with Contra Mundum. I don't know if you're familiar with God Over Money Crew and Seven and Bizzle and all those guys, but then I realized they had already done some albums with Contra Mundum, which means against the world. But then, Latin, people can't
Yeah.
pronounce it even. It doesn't hook, and I'm like, well, that's not it. So getting a roundtable going with other guys, people love, I think, to listen in more when there's, a, um, you know, attributing or contributing views, if not actual dissenting views. Sometimes when we say someone might have a different take on something,
Sure.
and even just butts in, people love that. So
Yeah. And I like that idea too. And also it doesn't necessarily mean that we're just talking just to talk, but I also think that it's also cool because then we can work towards solutions as well. So
yes.
not just about that
Yes.
exchange of ideas, but those ideas that exchange also leading to where we can come up with some sort of solutions.
That's excellent because I've had some particular jobs where we're crewed up, and there's a lot going on. And what would happen is a company meeting right before we got going, and
Uh-huh.
there's plenty of guys that want to raise their hand with some kind of issue that they have, either with management, with their fellow crewmen, or with something going on, and they had to actually stop that and say, look, guys, we want input, but don't raise your hand unless you have a solution for the thing you're complaining about.
Yeah, yeah.
We
We don't want it just to be about people coming together and complaining, because that's like,
don't want that takes up too much time.
expressing ideas and just trying to figure out some solutions. I think that's essential.
Yeah. So we're working to putting together an actual podcast that will have a timely event that you can have on your podcatchers and be listening. We're going to go through all kinds of cool stuff tonight. We're going to talk Orange Man Good, and what the idea is to try to sift through some of this massive confusion and all this noise over Donald Trump. here's what we won't be doing is we're not going to be really, I mean, it will probably happen by necessity, but we're not here to necessarily target the left. I would say, and maybe Lee, you can add to this, as far as the noise, the squelch from the street, the ridiculousness that people want to keep shouting everybody down and hitting people with boards with nails in them because they can't think properly. That mess, all that stuff, we understand that is not a place. We all, I think, can agree that there's nothing being actually done there that is constructive for the nation. Okay. But what we're kind of going to speak to is the conservative evangelical right, and all the people out there that maybe were in love with Trump to begin with, have become very disenfranchised, or people that maybe there was never Trumpers. There's those guys. And then people who, Lee and I have a lot of friends that they take a very hardcore stance and say, well, there's just not enough here in this person that warrants me standing with, or I have absolutely no faith whatsoever in the American justice system, in the voting system, and I could care less. And so we think that it's time to care.
Yeah, and that is the key word right there, care. You know, I know, like I'm going to use the church that I attend, right? And actually, someone had just sent me. I'll have to go back and take a look at it. She sent me a link, and obviously it was an LDS thing, but it had to do with. She was sharing it because she said, "I know you don't go to my church, but you might want to have a look at this," right? And so I have yet to go back and check it out. But my response to that was, I have I just pointed out, let her know that our church has recently done things like the constitutional classes from a biblical perspective, right? The Constitution. We just had Sheriff Mack and Doug Trouble out there speaking. I forget his name. He's from Ghana. Neil, tall, slender guy, very good speaker. Anyway,
not registering. He's from Ghana. He's here now.
Yeah, he's here. I think he's been here for quite a while. But he travels and he speaks. He's got books out, and for some reason Neil Mammon, something like that.
Man, I've not heard of that name. Huh.
Anyway, he's actually holding classes. He does them every Wednesday at the church. I've yet to make them because of the time frame and work and all. But
well, that's awesome.
Where are they going with that? Just the fact that
the church that cares.
In
that arena.
Yeah, and the congregation, the people there, they're fearless. I mean, when Caldwell School District, when they had some nonsense going on, I could think it was with regards to the curriculum. We have if we couldn't get into the meeting, there was people outside praying. You know, so they're fearless. There was a thing where some of the pastors, they were going to the down to the Capitol building and the Lincoln Auditorium. There were constitutional classes being held there, and you know, there was a bit of a service going on. You know,
wow, yeah, hey, that's encouraging, man. That's really what we need.
While it was in session, right? Yeah, this was happening on a weekly basis, and so the churches were just rotating around, going into that. I don't want to say arena, but you know, the state capitol, the People's House. It's supposed to be the People's House, but they got it all locked up now.
Oh man, what do you mean?
You can't even walk into certain offices. Like when I was
but you can go in the front door.
Well, you can get in the front door, but when you get ready to go, say for example, to the Attorney General's office or the governor's office, there's an access point there now. At least it was.
You're kidding me.
Last time I was in, you had to go through. You know, it's kind of like they have to push a button to let you in now. Whereas before, you could just, once you went into the Capitol building, you could go into the office, right? Whichever office
I've always, you know, ever since I was a kid, man, we did field trips there, and I've been in there by myself taking my kids. That is totally unconstitutional, brother.
Yeah,
it's a violation of First Amendment rights. Wow, interesting.
walk-in circuit papers.
Did you happen to watch that link I sent you on the First Amendment audit?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, because I'm seriously, I've gotten some.
I will make a point.
Yeah, check it out.
Do that.
Check it out. I'm really thinking about getting into that, and I've already got some footage of it, but it's needed, and it's a place that we can really hold our public servants to task. And so, anyway, it could be a lot of fun.
Okay, well, what's that one? You sent something else too.
I might have
security calls law enforcement.
Yeah, security calls law enforcement. Yeah, so man, these First Amendment auditors, they are bulletproof when they walk in these buildings, because they have a First Amendment right. And the police force, if they do arrive, they either need to respect our rights and just inform the public servants that they can film there, or if they arrest a person, then that's a violation of that person's right. And like they say, they're not there to start something. They're not there to create problems. They're there to see if the servants protect.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah.
That's Long Island Audit. Sean Reyes. He's one of the best. He's so smooth. He's so calm, and he's so good at it. And he files just like you, man. He files all his own lawsuits, all his own motions. He goes in himself, and he's won everything. And these guys get laws changed. They get signs taken down, and it's important. It's important. Hey, maybe we should just briefly give everybody just a little background, a little testimony, or not. I mean, just sort of where you come from as far as, like, what did you do when you were bringing MMA to the Valley, like before it was even a thing. I got a friend. I got one of my best friends was in your dojo. But anyway, go ahead.
This is crazy. So after living in Australia, I came back here late '97. Because they were getting ready for the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, Australia. I was still there. Wasn't even thinking about coming back here. And then one of my sisters reached out to me and said Mom wasn't well, so that was my clue. I need to get back home, and so I did. I got back here. I think it was late '97, early '98, and I was appalled at where they were staying, where they were living. I mean, it was bad. So I got them out where they were at into I guess like an apartment or condo type situation where everything was all on one level. There was no stairs, right? And so they had the master suite. They could walk out on the balcony area and be into like a nice little fenced off area. I had one of the bedrooms I set up as an office. And anyway, so then I had to figure out what I was going to do for work. So I was working with my cousin, Roscoe, who has since passed, just here recently. His celebration of life is going to be next on the 19th, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that.
So I was working with him moving furniture. That's what I was doing. And, we got paid well doing that. And, but that wasn't enough. And so when my parents passed, I lost my mom first, then my dad both in '99. And at that point, I was actually going to go back to Australia. But I was looking around and seeing what the things that they had done and not done in the neighborhood where I grew up in River Street, right? So I started being quite vocal at that time as well.
Really? Even back then?
Yeah, because, I looked
now, because your family was the first Black family in Idaho. Is that correct?
Well, one of them anyway.
Yeah.
You had the Buckners.
Certainly.
I guess, homegirl forgot where she came from. But, she became senator and all that. So,
yeah.
I've still been waiting for this meeting we were supposed to have to discuss the Constitution. That's a whole nother story. But
well, just briefly, because fast forward to once you were skilled in.
Okay, so what I
in martial arts
back then, Billy Blanks had Tybo, right? Black guy, bald head. He'd done
Billy
videos,
Blanks,
and that was off the chain, right? And I thought, you know what?
Yeah.
I took a page out of his book. I said,
Okay.
okay, well, I've done feature film. I might as well just do something too. So I came up with Lee's Hip Hop Kickboxing. I had gold. I had 24-hour fitness. I was working toward getting my own gym as well. Working 2 jobs basically, moving furniture and also working with my cousin. One of my clients had a cleaning business, right? So anyway, as well as being active in the community. So yeah, I kind of started all that. I came up with Knockouts. That was our promotional arm for like any and all of the parties and things like that. But yes, I started the whole MMA when nobody else was really doing anything. I opened up my gym for the BSU wrestlers,
Oh,
to
everybody was still watching
train.
boxing in those years.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it was just still pretty much in its infancy. But I set my gym up with bags. It was a fun gym. The music was bumping. I had families coming in. It was interesting because I did part of it was like just the floor exercises, but the main thing that got people excited was when it came time to punch the bags. That was the thing because you had husband, wife, one holding, one punching, and it was a good therapy, I think, as well.
And I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I could probably use some of that right now. No. But also it was a place like kids were going there after school and hanging out, having fun. Yeah.
And I just wanted to even take it even further. Excuse me, and have open up a place in the neighborhood. I ended up opening up initially. I opened up this facility. It was called Boise Water Sports, and this gal was in there in the room. She was doing jazzercise, and she wanted somebody to come in and kind of share the space, to cover costs and stuff like that. Yeah. So I did, but I ended up taking over the space because her clients decided that my classes were more fun, and so she started losing people. So finally, she just packed up her bags and left.
Hey, that's a free market, man. It's healthy competition.
So I had the space, and we just went from there.
That's awesome, Lee. Well, what happens next is unbelievable. I don't know if we have time to go into it all, but we definitely will. We definitely will if we're going to keep doing this, because your life is just a living testament to endurance in the face of state tyranny, quite honestly. Go ahead.
They tried to break me, because
they did.
I was being too outspoken, and then there's people going, well, you went overseas and you come back here and look at you now, what are you doing, blah 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 blah, you were in movies, and it's like, I never really took the time to give them too much of an answer because I thought, it's none of your business anyway. But then I kind of started letting it out there, things that are happening now in the media, like all this stuff like with P. Diddy and
man,
the casting couch. The casting couch is the real deal.
And we've seen that coming for a while.
Yeah, but I encountered that firsthand, which is why my whole acting career came to a screeching halt in Australia. It's just like, that ain't happening.
Hey, well, that's that's your amazing claim to fame. We got to tell everybody. You were in Mad Max 3, the Thunderdome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, the Howling 3, Mad Max 3. Yeah, that's crazy.
And
Boise, Idaho.
I think we need to see Mad Max actually come back. We need to see, Mel Gibson reprise that role. Anyway, I'm off topic, but I wish they just make. That's what everybody wants to see anyway. They
did a remake of it, but it's not. I didn't even go watch it, but I was hearing it was just not the same.
We mean with the Fury?
Yeah.
That's it's totally different.
Yeah.
They inserted a lot of work stuff.
But anyway,
there's
there's a bit there. I mean,
there's a bunch there.
There's a certain aspect of some of the stuff that happened where I'm, my sister keeps telling me I need to write a book. The other thing is that I need to get off of this felony deal. That I think as we go through this, we can share certain aspects.
Well, and it was illegal, so and that's very illegal what was done. So illegally charged, illegally arrested. Anyway, that's something we can go over more. But
were you referencing the beat down or the other one?
The beat
No,
down.
I'm waiting before the beatdown thing.
You mean
When I
there
first got when I first got
at the
back
Fed
here.
at the Fed building?
Oh,
That
oh,
one?
yeah. That's that issue. Yeah, that caused where they
I
sent
thought
me
the mayor
where they sent me
wiped
away
that
for 10
clean.
years.
The mayor
Huh?
wiped that clean.
That day, that particular charge on Cinco de Mayo, that thing went away. But the whole reason why I was there in the first place was going to report to my so-called parole officer, which I was doing every once a month, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
So
on
you're
that was
still
on the 10-year deal. Yeah, I'm considered a felon,
you're
and so
fighting to
that's
get the thing off where the framing happened and everything clear back with at the
that's yeah,
dojo?
that's
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, you should
that's
be able
still
to.
on.
Well, Idaho's expungement laws are whacked anyway, but they
Well, and I
can
don't think there's not any what do you call it, a statute of limitations. I mean, I got a game plan because some of these
yeah,
people are still
I
around,
bet.
so I'm not gonna.
I bet you
Yeah,
do. Oh, they are. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh, what we might do if it wasn't for Christ.
Oh, I
You
know,
know,
and see and
revenge is
that's
mine, says the Lord.
exactly, and
Says
that's
the
the
Lord.
thing that I've really been dealing with,
Yeah.
because had it not been for my Lord and Savior, I know for a fact, because of where they sent me. You don't defame someone. Well, I got defamed in a major way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And had to do in 10 years in federal prison, lost my
Yeah.
business and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And I think that still carries a lot of weight around with some people, because I know one of the guys that I went to school with, whom I was hoping to, he's family was very well known, and business wise and stuff like that, that having access to him, and I only found out through my cousin Mike's
Oh
son,
man.
who
Yeah.
passed away, that he wouldn't be too interested in speaking with me.
Wow, bro. That's
because
so
his
sad. That's
because his
terrible.
brother, yeah, his brother, I guess, lost his life overseas, and so he has this really hard attitude about any sort of drug issue. And it's like,
Mm.
well, wait a minute, how I was charged on a drug charge, there's no drugs, and it was on hearsay, third or fourth superseding indictment, which means they had zero. And anyway, there's just so much there.
Well, it was in the papers, and that friend I
Well,
mentioned,
yeah,
that affected him because he was part of the kids there at your dojo, and that affected him, because you're his sensei, and it was such a big upheaval to the community back when this area was very small and was really like a small town
there,
vibe.
you know what the
It
main
was a
issue
big
was,
deal what they did. So
Dan,
uh,
because in the neighborhood at the time when I got back here, there was 8 acres available on the corner of 13th and River. And when they were trying to decide where to place the first black church, which
mm,
used to be on Broadway, before you get to Warm Springs,
right.
excuse me, right on the East Junior High, their football field,
Mm-hmm.
that church sat there. But when I got back here, it was sitting out on, at the time, was like Front Street, out
Yeah.
where the courthouse, Ada County Courthouse, that whole area
Yeah.
was tore up, and they were trying to decide where to place
Oh.
that church. I was the only one saying, let's put it down in the neighborhood where there used to be a church.
Mm.
And there was 8 acres available too.
Is that the one they moved to the park?
Yes.
Oh,
The
wow.
Black History Museum.
The Black
Wouldn't
History
it have
Museum.
been
But that
much?
was your church when you were.
Yeah, that's the
And
church where we all went there,
yeah, we
back
did.
in the day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had to, yeah. So anyway,
well, but so basically, I mean, without getting, I'm just gonna say, like, there were some guys that kept plying Lee and pleading with him to use his dojo, and they were from Las Vegas, and they kept coming up, and he finally, they had money involved. He finally agreed against his better judgment, and he ended up throwing a couple parties there, and these were the cretins. These were the nefarious ones.
yeah.
And and so to cover themselves, they framed Lee with a particular kind of drug and stuff. And so And he's right. There wasn't even, they didn't have substantial evidence to do what they did. They just had a scapegoat, and oftentimes the
But it was so
courts.
close, but it's pretty close to home. The guy that I formed knockouts with this guy, so there was no denying that I had formed a company, a DBA with this guy. But his girlfriend was coming to my classes. She was saying he's a DJ, blah blah blah. So
yeah,
I had certain rules, right? He had access to my limo, access to my gym.
But they broke the rules.
Yeah, and I gave him a second chance even after I caught him the first time.
Okay.
So I'm not too keen on second chances, but I'm getting a second chance. So who am I, right?
But we serve a God of second chances, brother.
Yeah.
So, and he does. He picks us up, cleans us up. And hey, blessed are those who are persecuted wrongfully, and I know the Lord's already been using you in a lot of ways, used you to bless my life. I mean, how long have we known each other? 16 years, I think.
Well, yeah.
And we've been, in even abortion ministry, street ministry, and you.
Well, at the well, I mean, how was it? That was around the time we were both going to the well.
Yeah. Well, I met you way before that.
Well, that was before then even.
But then you started going to the well. That was awesome. You joined us. There was one time I was on the street with Sean Holes, and Sean was preaching, and I was, witnessing to people, and we got approached by some these really obnoxious atheists. He had a YouTube channel, and they wanted to preach to us from the Dawkins God delusion. Anyway, it's still on YouTube. But my point is, Sean, he didn't like all that noise. He's just like, I'm done. And I wasn't going to let that guy accomplish his goal of chasing us off.
Right.
So I stayed there and preached. And because those guys I said, will you take a tract? And he said, sure. And he offered me his hip pocket. And so I put the tract in his hip pocket, the one with the boom mic, because they had cameras and boom mics and all that stuff. And so they promptly went and told the cops that I assaulted him because I dropped that tract in his pocket.
Oh,
so
really?
And I didn't know any of this. The cops had been sitting way back where that big building is now, but they were watching me, and I was preaching, and they just kept watching me. And finally, they come up and they circled all around me, and it was like, I want to say a bunch of hyenas, but I'll be careful. But it really was. I mean, they were ready to arrest me, and I could tell, I could feel it. I had no idea they'd had this charge of assault, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. And I think there's about 5 of them. And all of a sudden, here comes Lee with his horn, because he's been down there playing on the street corner. And you walk up, what's going on with Dan? And he walked up there. And then there was another lady who happened to be a Mormon. And she came to my defense. And then when you come up there and you start saying, hey, what's going on here? You guys got, a reason to detain this person. And I'm just, I was trying to talk to them, and boy, they just totally deflated their balloons.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I'll never forget that, because I think you stopped a fallacious arrest that day. But,
right.
I ended up, they told me why they were there. Anyway, so there is so much that we can get into, I feel like, to dig into a lot of the things that are going on, and we're going to do that. And so, but right now, I want to talk about Trump. And so let me just say from my standpoint, and you can tell from yours, because I think we were both pretty big on Ron Paul. I mean, he was the man. He was the last.
Yeah, back in the day.
What year was that? I mean, in the Fed, the Love-olution.
Yeah.
Audit the reserve. My gosh, the Federal Reserve has never been audited. Anyway, I digress. So here was a man who spoke so much truth and never changed anything that he ever believed, what he was saying into the state since 1974, except one thing, and that was the death penalty. And he only changed his view on that because he decided our country's government doesn't have the ability to make that decision anymore. They're removed from that responsibility of saying when we execute someone, because there's so many wrongful executions. But he still believes that, the punishment should fit the crime.
Well, yeah, but treason is one.
Yeah. Boy, howdy. I mean, bring back tar and feathering. But anyway, so And so no, we don't want him, and they got him out of there. And so fast forward to eight years of Barack Obama, and really the paving of the way of so much communism from him. And then so now here we are. Okay, and we're to Trump. And when he got on the scene, I didn't trust him. To me, he just seemed like another money man, and I didn't trust him. Now, along the way, I saw some of the things that would give reason to stand with him, like he's not in anybody's pocket. He's not a politician. He just understands business. This could be good. So I certainly wasn't a never Trumper. But I certainly wasn't coming at it from a liberal standpoint, a leftist standpoint. But I could just kind of take him or leave him, whatever. And I kind of felt that way the whole way until towards the end. And it started to dawn on me that he'd kept every promise. I don't care what anybody says. He kept every single promise he made. Mm-hmm. And he didn't take us into any new wars.
Yep.
And so, and I was like, wait a minute, did we just have the first libertarian president? And, and I believe, and I say libertarian, I say that from a Christian viewpoint. And if anybody would ever actually read Ron Paul, they would understand that he has some of the best views. He can rightly define why we don't abort babies. He's a doctor, mm-hmm. and and all these things. Anyway, but and then all of a sudden, and the pandemic hit, and then there goes Trump rocking off the stage, and it was kind of like, wait for me, and I was like, oh no, what just happened? Because certainly when the nominees were running, it was like looking at Biden, it's like, well, that guy's not going to be the nominee,
right?
There's no way they're picking that guy. And then he got it. And then it's like, oh my word, what is happening? And so we went through this massive shakedown, and a lot of us going, well, what's next? Because as soon as the pandemic hit, a lot of us in our circles, we knew exactly what was happening. And most people were at least like, oh, this could be something to be concerned about. But I was like, oh, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're doing next.
The test.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the beta test. And so we go through it, and everybody has to learn the hard way and see people dropping dead on the sports fields. But when it comes to what we have here in this man, Donald Trump, is we have someone that I see is the man that God could be using.
Yep.
And, right. And so we have some things that people are upset about. He doesn't take a hard enough stance on abortion. He doesn't take any stand against LGBTQ. And we have the warp speed thing that he did for the vax. Okay. Well, what we need to realize is, God has often used men in the past that didn't have all their ducks in a row. And the guy does take a stand against abortion in a particular way. Now, someone might say they're both for killing babies. They just do it differently. And we know what our abolitionist brothers would say about this. But what we want to do is be right-minded, I think, as far as what's best for the country right now. I actually love our country. I actually want to see it righted in some way. I think we need to see repentance for that. But we can't deny that this other party is demonic. It is the culture of death, and all they seethe over just the destruction of human life. Mm-hmm. And I think anybody that throws in with that needs their head checked. But now, and I'm going to let you comment, because here's where we come up against it's just the, different wing of the same bird. So we have a two-party system. You could easily take the hammer and the sickle, and do a red hammer and a yellow sickle. And now that's the sickle party and the hammer party. And it's right. And so is this the USSA? Do we have a way to discern and to articulate this as far as, okay, there's maybe something where we're stuck in the two-party system, but there's also a way where we can say the Republic may be showing its, rising to the top here in a time where everything's getting shut down and so many things are getting exposed, that this could be a time in history where people do need to rally around the man that God is going to use. So
Yeah, and
that's
and I like the way you said that too, because that's exactly the way I've been seeing it as well. You know, those that think that I'm crazy, and there's some family members as well. You know, but especially like I don't like saying black, right? Because then that already begins to you start talking the whole race thing, which I try to stay completely away from. Is that if people would only go back and listen to, which I've done, right? I went back and I would listen to Trump's interviews, with young Trump's interviews. You know,
man, it's
I'll
cool
tell
to
you
watch.
I'll tell you what, he has not changed. You know, he was asked back then, years ago, but you know, would he ever run for president? It's like, why would they ask? You know, I mean, this is what they were asking him years ago, the young Donald Trump. And you know what? You know, he would say, no, you know, he wasn't really considering it. But then it got to the point where he was saying, well, you know, if my country really needs me, you know, it reached that point.
That's what he said.
But all these, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him until he made that real final decision to run.
To actually run.
And then everybody just started going, whoa. You know, because as a businessman, here's something that was on And We Know, and I really like And We Know because LT is on point.
Okay.
And
We know. I haven't watched that.
That's biblical. So Romans 8:28.
Oh,
that's what he uses. His logo even has like Moses.
Romans 8:28. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he uses, right? He's a military guy. So I don't know. I don't know if his LT is his initials or if it was maybe he was a lieutenant in the Marines. He actually even he talks about how he knew J.D. Vance back in the day as well, and actually had ministered to him or something like that.
Well, let me read that. Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose.
Yep.
So, you know, there's those called into the family of God, but God is using everyone for his purpose, whether you submit to his kingship or not. Yeah. And but all these things are working together. So go ahead. We can see rough stuff in a person that may not necessarily be a reason to just discard them.
Exactly. So on the program tonight, actually, his most recent one, there was one segment, and he always provides links to everything that he reports on, right? So, and I was always in the habit of taking screenshots of certain things. Here's one. It says, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris have held power for 28 of the last 32 years. Yet all of them are blaming Trump, all the while claiming they have the answers to America's problems. Weird.
Man.
When you think from that standpoint, the amount of control that the other side, so to speak, has had, right? And then you got someone like Trump that comes along, and in 4 years, mind you, in 4 years, he turned all that upside down. No wonder they hate him.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you know what? He could not. And there's no way this man could be where he's at, doing what he's doing, his personality. But there's no way, unless he's got God's favor, and that's
biblical. It's biblical. Look,
really
I mean, I don't want to, we're not trying to blaspheme the gospel or the reality that Jesus is talking about Christians here, but in John 15:18, it says, if the world hates you, know that it has hated me. If you were of the world would love you as its own. So let's think about that. Now, I know that's talking specifically about those who follow Christ, and Christians are definitely hated and persecuted. I got a friend that was persecuted in Montana just for being a missionary, and it's amazing. It's even happening in America. But But what we see around this man, and there's going to be a lot of people say, well, there's people that love him, there's people that worship him, and we have seen kind of gross
Excuse me.
deification of Trump. There's books, there's memes, there's pictures, like literally blending him with Christ. Okay, so we want to be careful here. But when we see a man that is so terribly hated across the board by all powers that be, so
Yeah.
Republican to Democrat, if you remember that first 4 years, everybody in the media had dogged on him all the time. People
Yeah.
that now are for him, by the way, and even J.D. Vance was close to being a never Trumper. Okay,
Yep.
when everybody forsook him across the board, even his own vice president, and everybody, all the Republican constituents and Republican governors and mayors and stuff completely said, nope, nothing to see here, when it was obviously fraudulent. Obviously they hid, he was running ahead, and overnight, Biden jumped up because, we got video of them pulling tubs of votes out from under
Yeah.
the table after they make up some ruse about a broken water line in the building. Okay, that's just a cursory glance from some guy on the internet. And so, by the way, the internet is the most powerful form of media we've ever had. And that's a whole nother thing about, oh, you read that on the internet. It's like having the library at your feet. So we always try to vet things. I know you vet things a lot, Lee, and I try to get, three or more things that we're looking at, news sources,
And if they come together,
yeah, and if they come
then
together, it's
there you
it,
go.
man. And we have so much independent news out there, and it's worth looking at. But so we have a man. Everyone just dropped him like a hot potato, and I think that the establishment, the blue bloods, whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, those bankster elites, he is not going to their parties.
No.
You might have a picture. There's a picture with him and Epstein. Guess what? They're in the money crowd.
Yeah.
There's dinners that are held. You're going to be around that scene, but he's not going to the spirit, the spirit eating,
cooking
the spirit cooking that Modesta had all of the email and guest lists for the Clintons going to that. But hey, nothing to see here. And I think,
yeah.
and even his rhetoric, Lee, even his bombastic rhetoric that didn't necessarily do him any favors. What if you were
real? He stayed real.
Yeah. And what if you had to see that mess every day? And you're just like, but you're not ready to really say it because maybe there's things that is going on in the back, things you're trying to work on it.
Yeah.
But you just feel like, especially with that much money, you just feel like, I'm going to say whatever I want to say, and I'm going to try to rock the boat as much as I can. And I think there was value in that, even though it did, it made already insane people even more insane is what happened.
You know how much value there is in that? The names he comes up with. Okay. How is it that this man,
I love nicknames.
He comes up with these nicknames, Rocket Boy. Yeah. And then what does he do? He's the first president to cross the militarized zone.
Yeah.
Didn't matter that he called him Rocket Boy. They ended up shaking hands. He walked with the dude, right? So,
what's that? What is that? Like, we see a man who was the best at foreign relations ever.
Well, he's a businessman.
But people say, but then some idiot says, well, he's just obviously in bed with the North Korean leader. He's in cahoots. What? He's literally creating foreign relations, so much so that the man no longer wants to test his nukes in the air. And, right? Yeah. I mean, what is the disconnect?
Pay their fair share.
I know.
You guys got to pay up. We're not doing this anymore. The tariffs he still start putting on people.
Oh, I know, man. That was awesome. He made money off of China.
We're better off today.
Oh, so much.
There's no way we're better off today.
Oh no. That's a question they couldn't answer. Huh?
He is. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, he did what he did in 4 years, and Kamala can't even. The last 8 years has been a disaster.
Yeah, and she sits here talking about what she's going to do next.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
do it now,
Sure.
woman. You crazy woman.
Yeah, and she took on a lot of the things that Trump was doing is now her ideas.
Yeah.
One of
No,
the things
the man is definitely blessed, and I think he knows that. And there's a lot of preachers that that initially and how they prayed over him and everything.
Yeah.
So people, I think through
I
this
know.
whole process, and I think especially with that first assassination attempt, I think there was a moment there, listening to his. Oh, that's what I was going to say. That he's probably going to be on Joe Rogan's show.
That would be
No,
unprecedented.
that I believe.
Word.
I believe that is going to be.
I heard that in the winds. Do you know that
I think it's
Rogan,
going to happen.
Man, Rogan has tried very hard not to have
Not
Mr.
to.
Trump on his
Yeah,
show.
I know. But now I think it's just like those that know and have common sense. I think that's the key word right there too. I think it's basically those that have common sense, have some sort of a moral compass, right? A moral compass and common sense. How in the world are you going to have the Democratic convention and you have an mobile abortion clinic right outside their convention, right? If that doesn't
heinous,
if that does not speak volumes about who they are, against what Trump has done.
It does speak volumes. Here, have an abortion on the side while you cheer on your candidate.
Well, it just tells you what they're all about. No matter how you look at it, it's still murder. That's what I call it.
Well,
that might be.
It's just killing, Lee. It's just killing. We don't want to.
Well, true.
Yeah. No, it is. It is, and we do want equal protection, but we will take certain things. That's why I want to tell everybody to go watch that debate between Russell T. Hunter and Doug Wilson over incremental pro-life versus abolitionism, because one of the things that Doug tries to get through over and over is that he'll gladly sign an abolitionist bill if he was in charge. But he will still also sign in a pro-life. And he used that analogy of the kings in the Old Testament. And I think this is really pursuant to what we're talking about. Is there's righteous kings, really righteous kings like Josiah, who did all the right things. Okay, there was wicked kings, and then there were kings who were called righteous, but that didn't quite get all the stuff done, or they really messed up at the end or something. And that was Asa's one of them. But we can just see, listen, man, I mean, look at David messed up.
That's what I was gonna say. David,
Samson messed up terribly. Solomon messed up terribly. Are we really ready to stand in our little, singular ivory tower as some individual who wants to say, no way, that's just not holy enough for me? And I think we just need to be careful. But this is what I did want to say. You mentioned the DNC, but at the RNC, okay, right after the assassination attempt, man, Lee, they toted out a Sikh and let him open up in prayer. They had the pyramid dollar up on the back screen. They had an unrepentant at the RNC, at the Republican National Convention, where Trump had the patch on his ear and all the other people had the patch on their ear.
Okay.
You didn't see that?
No, huh?
So many people showed up with a bandage on their ear. Now, I'm sorry, that's a bit idolatrous. It was kind of comical. This has ingrained him in a certain way. For me, it woke me up, and I did a video on that. It's like, or it changed, it shifted me as far as, they really did try to kill this man. And I mean the big they, the wicked they. And they were exposed doing it, clearly.
Yeah.
And we got frame by frame. The bullet actually went through his ear, so don't talk about Trump was in on it. They tried to kill him. They just caught a guy, the third attempt. Okay. And this is all fomented by the media.
Is that the one that was in the Trump Towers or something?
Yeah, they found him. He had all the weapons, and they let him go.
Did you? Yeah, but okay. Did you hear? Did you see Ammon's the latest one of his latest videos?
I did not. I've been watching him, but I didn't see the latest one.
This what was it? Miller, Vin Miller.
Uh-huh.
They were shooting a video
Uh-huh.
about the Bundy family.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, that guy was at his parents. He said I shook his hand, and the next
Oh,
thing you
wow.
know, he's hearing about this guy being arrested for
Wow.
possible attempted assassination. And he's saying, "What is how is it possible?" And then one
He's
of
a
the guys, the
pastor.
guy that was going to release this about the Bundy family that they were filming, right? That
Mm-hmm.
guy ends up being killed.
Mm.
There's just some really weird circumstances around that whole
Wow.
thing.
That is
And
interesting. I have to look into that further.
yeah,
Um,
and it's all about the land. I mean, with the Bundys,
yeah.
it was about the land. You know,
Yeah.
the whole Hurricane North Carolina thing is all about the land. Hawaii was all about the land. You know,
Yeah.
so these major destructive things, and
Well, they wanted to put that
and they want to blame it
massive,
on, and they want to blame it all on Trump.
it's all Trump's fault.
Yeah,
Trump's fault. Yeah. It's so
but
stupid because it's their fault. And
he basically he poked the bear. He did more than
oh
poke
yeah.
the bear.
Oh
He
yeah.
got right in
No,
their face. I
he
mean,
did. And I think
he
that's
went to
why
the
we're
top and told them,
seeing
huh?
so much change. We're seeing things like we've never seen them before.
Yeah.
They're losing their grip
Okay, I
on
have a
this
question. I have a
free
question.
nation. Huh.
Okay, how come this man has such an entourage wherever he goes?
People love him. He's
No,
so
no,
charismatic.
no. I'm saying when he travels, how come he has so much around him? If he's not the president,
Oh
how,
yeah, he still is. Yeah,
well, no,
he's
he's
the
commander in
actual
chief.
commander in chief.
Yes,
He's the actual
that's the
commander in
actual
chief.
commander in chief. Yeah,
And so,
he's
now we get in. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, a lot of
so
people
that's
are gonna scream,
we're
QAnon, QAnon. But
yeah,
see, the problem is there's always threads of truth in these things.
but it's not a
And,
QAnon. That's the other thing too. You know that,
yeah.
Dan.
Well,
It's Q and there's
when
the anons.
there's
It's not
Q and
QAnon.
there's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when it was just anonymous, and there was some pretty cool videos about hacking China and stuff. Man, that was awesome. It's like,
It
what
was,
is this?
and the whole purpose of Q was to
Yeah,
get people to question
yeah,
and to do
and
what
it
it's
did,
doing, and
and
it
it
did,
did.
yeah, to get people
There
to go out
are
and find the
things.
answers.
No, there are things going on behind the scenes. We have no idea, and I think there is punishment going on, and we'll know soon enough. And there is
Yeah,
change
it's
on the
getting,
wind, brother.
yeah, there is.
But I was just going to reference so that DNC there, when it's frustrating that I guess Trump wouldn't say, well, no, we're not going to have a Sikh open up the prayer, right? And I think that's what a lot of people see. There's
Mhm.
Christians that watch these things, and it is frustrating because it's just like, what is going on? But I think when we look at this, we need to sit back. Remember, we're not voting for a pastor,
That's
and
right.
just see this is the mess we're working with. And guess what? You don't think God says that? This is the mess. How many times he
Louise have that.
put
Yeah,
up with you and me,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
can't put up with somebody just because they're not pinpoint perfect accurate on everything. Yes, we're going to see wickedness, and the got to remember, that force of darkness is at work always, even around what Trump is doing.
yeah,
America was established on biblical foundations, the government system drawn directly from scripture. It isn't Nero, but at the same time there was a force of evil was paralleling that goodness and virtue and freedom. And that's why we have arcane, symbology in Washington, D.C., and we have all these things. Yes. And America seemingly, has done terrible things around the world and creating coups and stuff. But we can't forget there is still nobility. There is still truth and freedom. And
yep,
it lives here in this land in a way that it hasn't ever before. And we ought to be serious about protecting that. So if somebody is saying that he loves that and cares for that, as a Christian, I am actually required to take him at face value and walk with him at least a ways and see where we go here, and trusting Christ ultimately that
yep,
he's going to accomplish his agendas. I have something I didn't tell you about this. I have a 5-minute video that we can watch together. It's a guy talking about Trump, and it is a pastor, but he does a pretty good job breaking some of this down. You want to watch it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
And,
And I'm
and
just
then
going to
probably
share
gonna
this.
have to make
Go
a
ahead. If you had something to say, if it was on your mind, say it as I get this brought up. Anything that I said or that was.
Well, no, I just think that you're on point, and I just believe that those that are making the most noise about him, you know, obviously they need to also take a look at themselves. You know, what's that saying? You know, you don't throw stones if you're living in
a glass house.
Yeah. You know, so.
Okay, yeah, well, and I think, you know, a lot of times too, people have to be told that we shouldn't allow what we see on the mainstream media to dictate how we feel about things. And as far as Christians, the mission field isn't our enemy. That's one of the things this guy has to say, in that the people that don't believe like us, we're actually to be about winning souls, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for
And you have
one,
to meet people where they're at. I mean,
you have to meet people. That's what apologetics is all about, really. Man, this is not up and ready, so I have to pull it up. It was up. Because the other thing, what I was going to speak to was the jab and his fast track, his warp speed. Okay, let me see if you've heard this. Is what I was looking at was the fact that Trump knew that they were going to do this.
Yep. I lost you.
Huh?
Oh, there you are. I lost you for a minute.
Oh, sorry. Trump saw this happening. There wasn't a whole lot he could do about it. And he had this warp speed because he pushed it through so that jabby jab would get diluted. And as they had to make a bunch. And so people didn't get the full effect that they would have. Yeah, otherwise, if they had a little more time to get up all the
yeah, which is why it's somewhat sporadic. I have a friend who he boasts about having taken all the jabs, and he's in the gym and he's like, right. And just because I post up things about, like, you know, died suddenly, he thinks that it's a bunch of nonsense because he boasts about taking the jabs. And you know what I told him? I said, look, I said, you've been very fortunate.
Yeah, because he's all right.
Yeah, he's okay, and he's taking all the jabs. He's boasting, because there's some that boasted about it and aren't. They're gone.
Yeah, and you'll
find
told him
that you're very blessed and fortunate man.
Absolutely. Yep. We don't know what was going on there. They were going to push that through no matter who was in that White House.
But what it did, that was just an eerie thing, Dan. Traveling from Nampa to Boise, and it was like you're in a whole nother world. There's no vehicles on the highway. That was the strangest feeling.
You know? Oh man, dude, I know.
I don't know if
I was going to work.
I was just so weird.
It was terrible. I was hooking up my trailer and going to work, going down the freeway, and the line's flashing, "Stay home," and like it was almost palpable, pushing against it, like, no, I'm going to go ahead and make a living and stuff.
Right.
You know, and because we were essential, I had a lot of alt-right friends and stuff. They're like, they were making fun of it, like, we're essential. Ha ha ha. Well, that was also more Marxism, because how wicked to tell fellow Americans you're non-essential because you serve coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
You're non-essential. That was more what I call factionization, factions, making further and further factions. And that's Marxism, plain and simple. Marx used, monetary value, and they've used sex, race, and anything they can get their grubby mitts on to push out into the populace to further disintegrate us.
How about Obama? And how about Obama stepping?
Dude,
I posted
what
up
do you-
some things because Obama, that he calling out the big dogs, right? Obama stepping in, basically telling brothers, if you ain't voting for Kamala, you guys, he's basically trying to chastise the brothers, and all that did backfire. That backfired on me.
Totally. Right, yeah,
that
no, I'm good.
backfired.
I'm laughing.
I've seen some of the videos on there. Some of these brothers, man, it's like, oh man.
Oh, bro, they're hopping, they're fighting mad. Everybody's for Trump now. Just like it used to be in hip hop, they always talk about Trump.
Oh yeah.
Now they're doing it again, and quite honestly, there's some songs about Kamala, and they are not favorable.
I saw a couple of them. I was like, I'd like to share it, but I can't do
it. I know they're pretty rough. Well, I'm gonna play this, and you can totally stop if you want. If you have something to say, but let's listen.
I think in many ways, a lot of people in the church today have a misconception about the mission of Jesus. And I wrote down a few thoughts, and this is not an aside, but I think it is something that is fitting because of the text we're in, that many people confuse Jesus's mission. I saw a pastor this week, very well-known pastor, that said, he tweeted or something, never Trump, this year Harris, always Jesus. I just want you to understand that is one of the most foolish things I've ever seen. And here's why. People have asked me this week if I have opinions politically. I have opinions, a lot of them. I'm not a political commentator. I'm a preacher of the Bible, but certain things politically are more theological than they used to be. So let me just give you some things about where I stand, because people have texted me a few things, and I'll just, this stuff is not hard for me to say. Number one, the Democratic Party is a demonic death cult under the power and influence of Satan. Hold on. No, I'll explain why I say hold on. To vote for the Democrats is to vote for a platform that is building their platform upon everything God hates. Mm-hmm. The mutilation of bodies, the annihilation of babies in the womb, and the sexualization of your children. That is their calling card. That is what they want to do. They don't hide that. They have abortion facilities outside of the Democratic Convention. This is who they are. It's the most radical party in our country's history. So I don't see how you could be a Christian and vote for a party who promotes everything that God hates. That's the first thing. Secondly, you have a responsibility and privilege to vote for the option that best stems the tide of evil. I want you to also understand that there are no perfect candidates in this election. They're both broken people. But one of them presents a far better option at the preservation of life and the upholding of the family than the other. A failure to vote is a failure to express our gratitude to the men and women that have died for our country and given us the freedom that we have today. It's also a failure to, I believe, obey the calling that we have to uphold the righteousness in our land. You don't have to like the personality. You just vote for the best option between the policies. And one of them is far less worse than the other. I think that's obvious. And a vote, just in general, it comes from the Latin word votum, which means to make a choice. You're not voting for a pastor. You're voting for a guy that, as best we have as an option, upholds righteousness in the land. Number three, nice. And this is why I said hold on, because there are certain people that are going to amen the political thing, but I also want the amens just to be as loud as when I say this. Our hope is not in a political party. Who is in the White House is far less important than who is on the throne in heaven. And I want you to also understand, because I've watched some videos this week that contradict this idea, the advancement of the gospel isn't reliant a single ounce upon who is president.
I like that.
I want you to understand that where Christianity spreads the fastest and the farthest are in the nations that are persecuted the most.
Yep.
That's right.
Not where there's the most religious freedom. The reason our world is crumbling, the reason we're under the judgment of God is because we've turned our back on God.
Yep.
And if you want to see political reform, you need to see a spiritual revival. It's not the other way around. You don't pursue political reform so that there can be a spiritual revival. So when people say things like, we need to get this guy in office and then there will be a spiritual revival in our land. No, there won't be. No, there won't be. That's not the way it works. And that's never been the way it works. Number 4, we should speak out against the evil of our day.
Yep.
But you should never turn the mission field into your enemy.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
You can call out the policies, call out the issues. I can speak against the horrors of abortion. Makes God weep. The trans agenda, whatever it may be, I have a heart for those people. And you ought to have a heart for them. And you can get riled up on Twitter and you can live in your insulated bubble and start looking at them. No, that's why you're here. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand what your mission is as a Christian. Number 5, if you are more likely to promote your political views than you are to proclaim Jesus Christ, if people know you more for being a Republican than they do for being a Christ follower, your priorities are way out of whack. So I disappointed both people, right? So like that's where we're at today. But I want you to understand those truths. You should go vote. And it's not a difficult decision for me. But I also want to, but then I also want you to know that our hope is not in who's in office. There's ditches on both sides. You have the people that say Jesus 2024. I don't know what that means. Because he's been Jesus and he's been king for the last 10,000 years and he'll be Jesus for the next 10 billion years.
I love that.
I don't know what that means. But then you have pacifists and then you have people that are putting all their hope in what happens in November. Listen, Stonebridge Bible is going to go on because the church is going to go on and we're not on defense. The gates of hell will not what? Prevail. We're on offense.
Yep.
Johnny
So
Arnavanis.
Now, seeing this is the, I think I had this link 3 days ago because I put on here, Pastor Speaks About Politics. This is the guy that I had, that's one of them anyway.
Oh, really? Yeah, I had not heard.
Yeah, that he's one. That's the, actually, I'm sure that's, I'm just going to click on it now. I posted him. Yeah, it is. He was on X. It was on X that I found it.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Somebody sent, okay. Oh, yeah. Somebody sent me him a while back, my mechanic. And it's like, man, thank you. Because I just, appreciated the way he really tackled that. Now, what do you think? So everybody go and vote. We know that there's going to be about 38 million Christians predicted not to vote.
Not to vote, yeah.
But now we've run in circles, especially the Romney Obama days. It was like, man, well, I'm sick to my stomach over our choices. So, and I don't think it matters. What's that one?
Another guy, another
pastor we're voting for president. Yeah. What's his name?
You know what?
And that's a pretty common thing that I think people do here, and they do understand. We're not voting for a pastor. We're voting for a president. But I think people need more than that.
And it should be a call. I think this guy was speaking about how most Christians are on the fence, and he basically saying you need to get off the fence, and basically, pretty much the way this young pastor spoke. Only this guy appears to be a little bit older, but they were both saying pretty much the same thing. And
so does our vote count?
Well,
and how? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, no, this is why I kind of struggle because, as a U.S. citizen, when you start looking at those terms, like the stuff that this as well. There's two citizen types, right? And one, you're voting in the whole. It is my opinion that the U.S. Inc. is no longer. Okay, I think that has been taken away, and why Trump is saying that it's up to the people. So I believe now, I believe now more than ever, because the whole fraud has been exposed. For them to try to do it again, I think they realize they can't do the same thing. They may try to, but there's just too many eyes on them now, which is why I think they resorted to doing these so-called natural disasters, right? To create a situation in certain areas,
Yeah.
right, to kind of limit the number of people who could vote, so they could then try to utilize that.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly believe that at this time that it is important that we do go out and vote.
Oh, hey, wait, we got a comment coming in. Brian Daniels. Finally, somebody commented. Thank you, Brian. I
Oh,
see you, bro.
wow.
So, okay, Brian says, there's no good choice. Plus, you get summoned to jury duty repeatedly when you vote. So I'm not. Well, I'm going to let Lee talk to the first part, but I can talk to the second part because I got a great thing for you. Is when you go in there, when the judge
Yes.
says, when he asks, will you accept my decision handed down to you for the jury to make their decision as what I say, you just tell him that you are a juror and you will abide by your own good conscience based on what you hear. And
That's good.
I promise you, he will most likely eject you from the courtroom.
But
So,
the other side of that, those that want to avoid going to
yeah.
jury duty, that again falls back on us, the people,
Mhm.
because we're all, it takes away from my time and blah, blah, blah. That is the problem. That
Yeah.
attitude is the problem.
It is. And honestly,
If you just go in, like Jesus said, man,
Read.
going in and just speaking your truth and letting them know, because the other jurors will hear that as well.
They will.
And then
And
if the judge gets rid of you.
Well, I was going to say, I used to definitely be of that same mind, but now I kind of relish the opportunity because I hope that maybe I'm needed in there, because jury nullification is very constitutional. And
Yeah.
what if we have someone in there that's being totally railroaded or is unjustly charged, and I get to be on a jury where I can determine that, I can discern that as a sound, critically thinking juror, to not just go by some statute or code, but to
Right.
say, actually, the man is innocent, and nullify that jury if need be. And so that's kind
But
of
they will
where
notify you before you get a chance to do
well,
that. That's the problem.
hold on. Well, if you say it right,
Right.
well, the judge is questioning everybody. Yeah, actually, this is real. I had him look right at me and say, "Get out of my courtroom." He said, "There will be no talk of that unconstitutional idea." When jury
Well,
nullification is the most constitutional thing we have.
yeah, that's
So yeah, but if once you're there, what do you think? Like once you're in the jury and you're in deliberation, because there was that one gal, that one whistleblower from the IRS, and that whole entire trial,
yes,
that old boy got let off because the jury kept asking for the law where it shows that
right.
a wage tax was
Unlawful.
mandatory. And
Yeah.
the judge, was mandatory. And the judge kept telling him, we'll get it to you. We'll get it to you. And finally that jury's sitting there and they're like, this guy doesn't have to pay his taxes.
Yeah.
And they were just dumbfounded. They went through it. They rightfully determined by what was happening in this particular case. Now, if it's Wesley Snipes or Willie Nelson or somebody, you're going to get drugged through the limelight, and of course they get penalized. But these were real cases with real judges, real jurors, and this was an old farmer. It's all on record. And the whistleblower, the IRS whistleblower, was a political prisoner. They put her in jail, and I think she might have died there. She had a blood problem. They wouldn't even treat her. Anyway,
yeah,
he won that case because the jury held to their conscience based on actual law of the land.
Yeah.
And so, that's awesome stuff. I think so. Why are we saying that there is a good choice here in this election, Lee?
Well, there is a good choice if you just look common sense. I'm gonna just say common sense, which isn't so common these days. Common sense says if you just look at the choices based upon the past and proof, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at what Trump did, what he accomplished in the short of time that he was in versus what the other side has accomplished or hasn't accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in their right mind Right? Anybody with an ounce
Yeah.
of common sense
Yeah.
would have to go with Trump. I mean, otherwise you're looking at saying, okay, we'll go the other route, and now your freedoms, right? Everything that you thought you had, you're not, and it's going to get
But
even worse.
okay, but maybe he's saying like we said back with Romney and Obama, it's like, I don't subscribe to the lesser of two evils. He's still evil because it was Romney. It's like, yeah, meh. No, there is nobody to vote for. What's different about this, and why is it not just the other side of the bird? That's what I want to get to, and I definitely got my thoughts. But what do you say to that?
Because
I mean, you already said it a lot. Like the republic is on the rise, and
well,
things
yeah,
are
and
different
that's
than they
it.
ever have been.
Yeah. When I said like the voting before, it was under the old system,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And I think at
The
some
ink
point it's going to
versus
get
reading
back to
people.
what calculating the votes going to get back to where it's going to be. We're waiting up until like 12 midnight to get the results, not no 3 and 4 weeks or a month. The republic, and I guess this is the thing too. We are living, and that word democracy. When I hear other people that should know better, like even
Use it.
President, even Trump,
Yep.
Everybody keeps saying democracy, and every time I hear that word, I just want to just.
Yeah, I was going to name this video. Yes, Trump is the threat to our democracy. Yes.
Yeah, and see, that's what I wish. You know what? If
we want a republic.
If he came out and just said that, yeah, own it. Yeah,
absolutely.
You're
Man,
right.
I would love it.
We're a threat to democracy, and I think at some point that might be because.
And you know what else? That's where we're headed. And you know what else, Lee?
Yeah.
God may very well humble that man. He very well may bring him all the way to the cross, because he's definitely said some concerning things about not needing forgiveness and other weird things.
But after that attempt though,
he's been giving God a lot of props.
That earshot,
he has.
Okay, those who have eyes to see will see, and those who have ears to hear, will hear.
Oh, so, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Why was it the ear?
Yeah. Hey.
Why was it the ear?
Apparently, it was because it was Levitical priesthood anointing. No, hey, and actually, so to those guys that are doing all the conspiracy stuff around this, okay, one of the things was like, well, they just let him jump up and pump his fist, huh? Okay, that would never happen. But if you listen and you really watch, we have the audio from when he hits the ground. Yeah. And when he's down they're saying, we got him, like shoot her down.
Yeah.
So while he's on the ground, everybody knows that Shooter has been eliminated. So that's something there that, it lended to his bravery, I think, there to just say, man, I'm going to not miss this opportunity. And you bet that was a photo op. Yeah. And you bet Trump's going to take that. Yeah. And yeah, good on him, man. They missed. You missed me.
They letting them know.
Man, if I just don't see why that didn't bring more people out, to really that maybe haven't backed him to do so, because they really do want to kill him. All of the establishment, all of it, wants to kill him.
But you know what? It reminds the fact that he went back.
Yep.
When I was in Sydney, one of the jobs I had was doing high-rise window cleaning, and at one point, so this machine travels around the track on top of the building, right? It's like I don't know how many stories. It's up there because you got to use a crane that lifts the stage up and over the side. So you're already 5-10 feet. Once you're on top of the building, you got a crane that lifts the chair up and over, or the
yeah.
And then you start down the building. After about 10 feet, then you start where the windows are at, right? We got about halfway down. We got about halfway down, and I'm looking up because we just see the cable do this, and we a free fall all the way to the ground.
What?
Yeah.
Not free fall.
Yeah.
They stop
That-
you before you hit the ground?
When we hit the ground, that's when we stop.
That's when it's done. Don't make me laugh, bro.
We were both, there's two of us in there, right? We're looking at each other. I'm thinking, did you push the button? I was like, no, I didn't push the button. It's like, that was the most freakiest thing ever. And we walked away from that. But I'll tell you what, Dan. So about a year later, once they figured out that there was a leak in the hydraulic system, right? Guess what? We got the call.
You did?
To go back.
There's a leak.
To test out to see whether or not they got everything fixed. Yeah. So that thing with Trump getting hit and then going back to when I heard that he's gonna go back there, that's the thing that came to mind with me too. That hey, I kind of had a similar experience. Not the fact that the two of us had to go back up into that cradle and check out the system.
It's like, you couldn't put some sandbags in there, guys?
Do we have to, really? But you know what? It was something that I believe that it just in my own, I guess, the character or whatever just needed to do to.
Well, sure. That takes some steel.
Yeah.
And, he has it. He has it. No matter what anybody says about.
Do you think Obama would have done that?
No. Hell no. Maybe after about 5 drones, Obama would send in a fleet of drones first. Just kill them all. Let God sort them out. I'll go talk afterwards. No, no, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Well,
so for me, the earshot, I think, was the fact that definitely that was God's grace there, and perhaps if he wasn't listening to that little still voice, that got his attention. And I think in one of the I can't remember what interview it was, he was asked about that, and he was a little slow to say anything, but he did basically. He knows that was
divine,
a blessing, a divine situation there.
And
he's not denying
clear.
it.
Yeah,
he kind of walks a fine line, but he's certainly not denying it.
Yeah, God or Jesus's mom didn't move the bullet out of the way. That was a straight trajectory, fired, and was on its trajectory from before the foundation of the world, since God is actually sovereign and stuff. And Trump turned his head. The best assassins in the world, or the best snipers with the best environment, the perfect wind conditions, there's always that margin of error. And that man found it. He found it. Is that millisecond before that, from the minute the round leaves the end of the barrel to where it hits its mark, that millisecond he turned.
Yeah.
Now that was totally the protection of God. Had he not, his brains would be all over the place, and we would have been in probably martial law by now, or then at least right away. Who knows what the right hand on the 4-wheelers would have done, and everybody goes nuts.
Yeah,
because they know what they're doing. And that said, Lee, we might see, if he gets it, which I think he's definitely going to take
I believe he will.
We could see martial. What about this? The left rises up. Now Trump has to enact martial law, and now we have maybe some totalitarian actions from him that are needed, or bring about some good, or I don't know.
Look at what's going on right now. Mainstream media, and there are people, you can tell they're seriously worried, which is why they don't want him to win, because they know that, because
this silly narrative about him being a dictator and Hitler, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, because it's not who he is.
All they're doing is, what do they call it when they're deflecting it?
Yeah, they're deflecting.
They're the ones that are that way.
Well, we know about fallacies and logical fallacies. The ad hominem attack is so ridiculous, just on our little social media threads.
Marxism.
Well, yeah, and when you say something to somebody, and then they say, "Well, you're an idiot," that exposes the fact that they can't deal with the matter at hand.
Right.
And so that's what everybody does. You get them all up there. And how long? Biden has done this forever. Well, anyway, but Trump is sure sucks. And, and they can't talk about anything else. It's like
that's all it is. Yeah.
It's seriously,
Well, I mean,
it's seriously that.
Just like what I read, about all the political control has been in that grouping for 32 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Long time. Yeah.
No wonder we
rats.
are where we're at,
How long has Biden been in there? I mean, one of the things I was going to say, and I think this is relevant, is how much the leftist flip-flops, and especially these talking heads, the politicians, they've always flip-flopped. I remember how bad it was with John Kerry.
But he is bad.
He really flip-flopped. But everybody, I mean Hillary and now Kamala and every, what we see, I think that's just a mark of a good statesman, is when they step on, they say what they believe, and by God, they stand on it continuously. That's what we saw. There's never been anybody quite as solid as Ron Paul on it. But you said that about Trump. If you go back to some of these interviews and he's young, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
And so he's not changing anything that he stands on. And that we need to remember, if anything, that's the mark of an actual American statesman.
Yeah.
But people that have no grounding, no foundation, in fact, they are on sinking sand.
Yeah.
they're chameleons, and they will do, we still got to figure out, the best nickname for her, because the really good one we can't say live, but I digress. Anyway, so
like Tampon Tim.
Yeah, the Tampon Tim, dude. That one stuck, dude. Now there's memes and gifs. That debate was nuts, bro. We should do a reaction on that debate. Some of those looks he gave.
Okay, so
Man.
I have friends to say that JD Vance is not any good, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Well,
I can see that, but I'm
and maybe there's some issues in the past, and he wasn't really on board with Trump. But then when you listen to him, you listen to him talk when all these people try to take him down. He just stays right on point, and he'll keep talking, and he does it in such a way. He's a great. He'd be like in that statesman category too, I believe, just based on how he's handled himself with regards to.
Dude, I'm impressed by that guy. Actually, the more I listen to him talk, he's just he's very comfortable in himself.
Oh yeah,
he has an answer. Talk to him.
They try to smash him all the time, and it's like it's not happening.
They do. I saw there was very rarely stomach a little bit of Saturday Night Live, because I used to like that show. They did a bit on that debate, and the guy up there that was supposed to be JD Vance, he was doing the exact opposite of what JD Vance did. He was saying things like, well, you've asked that question. I've heard that question. It's a great question. Thanks for asking it. And then it's like, what, are you kidding me? He literally was answering everything. He spoke to everything, but the whole bit was him deflecting. I thought that was funny. It's the exact opposite of what he did.
Right.
But anyway, well, we're at an hour, 30 minutes. I think the next one we should do on, I was going to say weather modification, but we should have it more comprehensive, because
I'd want to have the. If we do that, we need to have
get an expert on.
Well, it's not, I don't know about expert, but at least we could have the patents.
We could have the patents, but here's what I would just briefly say is that I know they seed clouds. I just watched them spray us down the other day, and it spread out. I've had a lot of that on film. It wasn't, but even 10, 12, 13 years ago, you'd get laughed out about just any room, at least in conservative evangelical circles. And now everybody's starting to see it. But I have a hard time. Grappling with the titanic energy within a hurricane. How many kajoules of energy? I don't think we could stop one. I think maybe we could make it worse, maybe, but I have a hard time thinking that they can actually harness a hurricane. You know what I mean?
This one report I saw, it was so well documented with evidence.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it, brother. I'd love to see it.
Because if they talk about I'd have to go back. It was actually this is what gets me. LT with And We Know, he finds these videos, and people send them to him. Then he always posts up the link. So I have to go back and try to find that particular one. But that's
if anybody, and I'll just say this too, is
if anybody's
what in the world are they spraying, and why in the world are they spraying, are two well done documentaries. I always forget his name. It drives me nuts because I get it messed up. It's Griffin who wrote Creature from Jekyll Island.
Oh yeah, Griffin, isn't it?
Yeah, Griffin. He has been in the Christian ministry scene for nearly 80 years because he's almost 100.
Edward G. Gifford.
Edward G. Gifford.
Edward.
E.G. Edward G. It was a Griffith or Griffin.
Griffith.
I don't know why I have that book.
Yeah, he was way out in front too.
For a long time.
And
but he made those.
Pale Horse. Who's the guy?
Yep.
Oh, what's his name? Behold the Pale Horse. They
Oh,
murdered him. They assassinated him.
man, I have not even read that. I know about that book. I don't know that author name. But here's one everybody could check out. I'm getting into this. It's Battlefield America. That was written in 2015, The War in America. But man, it goes through everything, lessons in indoctrination and compliance, the police state, the state of our freedoms. They are pretty dismal. I always say the freedoms that we have left, and they've definitely done a number on us. But we got to understand, when it's darkest, God likes to bring forth his light.
Yeah, that's true.
We're just trying to encourage you, that you don't have to just be fed up and I'm tired of listening to all of them. And there are no good choices, because we've at least been given some sort of perspective for quite a while that we've seen a lot of people not understand. And now everybody is like grabbing onto things that we've already seen for so long.
Yeah.
And so
nice.
It is nice. It is. And there's stuff is happening. That's what I was saying. And it could be really good. God could be using the Orange Man, and I'm going with Orange Man good.
Me too. I agree. So just real quickly, here's some of the stuff like I like getting into right here.
The American Admiralty, its jurisdiction and practice with practical forms and directions. Oh my word. That's a little light reading for the evening.
Yeah, I know. This book is, from what I understand, most judges have this book, because you know what? There's even stuff on the constitutional aspects of things as well in there.
Oh wow, nice.
And another really good one I'm trying to work through.
Does that help you with like filing motions and like representing yourself?
Well, it just gives you an idea, but they still operate on statutes and codes, and so it's a bit of a challenge still, but there's some valuable information. Just like this one here.
What tomb have you got here?
This one out, huh?
What is that? Ooh, top secret bankers.
What's this? Read the fine print.
Well, put it close to the camera. I need glasses. This manual. I seriously need glasses, bro. Oh, put it down. I see secret agreement court and USCC row bankers. Okay, drop it down a little bit. This manual is designed for bank presidents and vice presidents only. Do not allow lower level bank employees to read. Dude, are you kidding me? Where did you get that?
I could send you a copy.
Dude,
I think I have the PDF.
You realize you just put that on the World Wide Web, right?
Oh well,
So,
hey,
What?
I'm not
It might be-
suicidal.
Yeah. Mark that down. No. Lee likes his life. So,
Well, you know what?
No,
That's good because they need to
you
be
know-
on notice.
you know what they do?
'Cause I'm-
You know, go ahead.
They need to be on notice. You know,
Say
the things that they do. You know,
Yeah.
they've captured us from day one with the lie. I mean,
We
that's
have
a whole
people-
nother, that's a whole nother topic for another time.
It is, but that does remind me of the IRS manual that
Yes.
says right on it it's the manual for the voluntary income tax. It's
Yeah, it's
for
all voluntary.
IRS eyes only.
Yeah.
Well, and people don't understand, you waive that voluntary status your very first time that you
the file.
sign in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's ways to confront the government on that the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court already ruled is talking about actual investment coming in, not your wage. But
Yeah.
anyway, Christians always go to Jesus said to pay your taxes. Well, if you actually look, what he said to Caesar
Give unto
was
Caesar what Caesar's.
render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, unto God what is God's. But that image on that coin belongs to God too. It's all God's.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Messing with God's money. Don't don't rob the people. And will man rob God?
Yeah.
He won't. No. Well, bro, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm liking this.
This is great. Yeah.
So should we tell them we should
thank
say
you.
the name?
Pardon?
Because we're gonna get this podcast going soon, and it can be disseminated regularly. We're gonna go probably twice a month. I'm
Excuse me.
thinking hopefully twice a month, and move towards 4 times a month.
Okay.
But so we're gonna call it. I'm going with Roundtable
Roundtable.
Media with Dan and Lee.
Yeah.
Dude,
Let's do
that's
that.
golden.
Let's do it.
Come on, let's get it. All right. Well,
All right. Blessings.
Thanks everybody for watching live. Thank you for watching this later. If you're watching it recorded, we appreciate you. Please, go in there. This is on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Please leave a comment. Say something, even if you didn't like it.
That'd be awesome.
Just let us know or share this around, and there'll be more to come. And show topics too. So we'll be doing lots of stuff. So God bless you, and stay vigilant, man, because
Absolutely.
liberty is important and freedom is dangerous, and we are to be strong in these matters. Stand up for what's right. We the people. Remember
That's
what
right.
we've been given by God. So, okay.
Okay.
God bless. Appreciate you, Lee. Thanks for joining.
Love you, man. All right. Bye.
Love you too, bro. Bye.